Hello, and welcome to today's episode of The Daily Blend. I'm your host, AC, and we are joined in studio today by Bret Rodabaugh, who is a certified financial planner at LaBrunerie Financial. How are you, Bret?
Great, Adonica. How are you?
I am really good. It is good to have you here.
It's great to be here.
First time?
First time.
Oh, first time. You're a newbie.
That's right.
All right, we're going to get you broke in.
Okay.
It's pretty easy. And plus, you know your stuff.
That's right.
That's what I heard. I heard some really good things about you, Bret.
Hopefully I can live up to the hype.
I hope so. All right. Well, we're here to talk about something that we all probably need to know a little bit about. We're here to talk about a little debt.
Yeah, absolutely.
A little scary thing called debt.
Yeah. And, historically, when we're looking at financial planning, it's always a large aspect of our financial portrait, is what we call it at the office. Because as you progress through your financial plan, it's kind of your portrait. It's where you're at right now, and that changes throughout time. And one thing we've seen more commonly now that's not quite a problem, but something to pay more attention to is debt loads, especially now that we have higher interest rates. Over the last 10 years, we've had lower interest rates where it hasn't been as big of a burden on the individual or the family. But now that we've seen, student loans are now, you need to pay those back now, it's become more of a burden on how to get that next level of planning.
Yeah, it truly is. I mean, see it in my own life. My friends and I talk about it all the time. It's truly a thing. So let me ask you this. Why is it important for families to talk about debt across generations, generationally? Why is that an important conversation to have?
Yeah, what we've seen more frequently again is parents or grandparents have chosen to maybe take funds from their retirement to help out their kids or grandkids, just to kind of help them get off to a better start than what they could do otherwise. And so when we're looking at this as a family portrait, it could, it's one, debt is disruptive to, maybe the individual that's got the student loans or other types of debt, but also for the parents or grandparents that might have to take some of their money that they have saved and use that to help out the child or grandchild.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you talk about that, taking out money to borrow sometimes for student loans, really, what's the real cost of borrowing that money?
For an example, if, you have $30,000 student loan, over a 10-year term at just a 6% interest rate, that could cost you $43,000. So that's $13,000 of interest. Now, that's just part of the equation. Then there's the opportunity cost of, what could you have done with that $13,000? Could you, use that for a down payment of a house? Use that to invest. For example, if you took that same $13,000 and over 30 years at a 6% interest rate, that would be worth almost $75,000. And so that's this big, paradigm shift to where, previously with lower interest rates, it wasn't as big of a deal, but now there's a large opportunity cost there on that money spent going to interest.
Yeah, I'd say so. And how has household debt changed?
So
from back in the day?
It's, back, from 1970, the average household had about $10,000 of debt in today's dollars, so there's some inflation adjustment there, compared to about $100,000 in, today is where we're at. And as it pertains to student loans in particular, the cost of education has outpaced wage growth by close to 10 times over that same period. And so we can see this widening gap of, when you're entering the workforce, how well off are you at that time? And so it's drastically different now than it was 50 years ago.
Gosh, I mean, what do you how do you advise your clients?
Yeah, there is a great tool called a 529 college savings plan. I know Alex has talked to about it before. It also makes an excellent gift for parents and grandparents as we approach this holiday season. 529 college savings plans is an investment account that you can put money into that gets you a state tax deduction here in the state of Missouri. If you use those funds for qualified educational expenses, the gains are also tax-free, and it allows you to put money away to avoid that cost of having to take out student loans.
Yeah.
And so that's a great tool, you don't have to have a lot of money to do it. You can start it as low as, $25 a month, and having, even just starting off with that amount is more than you would have to take out from loans. So
Yeah.
it's well worth looking into.
And with that 529, there's a way that families can work together, right, to reduce that burden.
Absolutely. So parents can contribute, grandparents can contribute, aunts, uncles, anybody in that kind of immediate family there can contribute to one account and get that tax break. And so it's really worth doing. It could really pay off, especially if you start it early. You start them. I opened one for my child before he was even born. And so letting that start early really makes a big difference later down the line.
Yeah, and I find like we would send it out to the grandparents and family members for birthday gifts. Like, we don't need any more toys.
Exactly. See, that's what I was gonna say. Everybody's got enough toys these days. It's like, here's something you can do that could be meaningful down the line.
Yeah, and I know it's like a paradigm shift. Like, don't send toys. We've got enough of those. Like, please, please. So what's your message for families who think that it's too late, or that those small contributions do not make a difference?
I think, a key point I want to talk about is being able to discuss the debt problem. It's not a pleasant topic. Nobody wants to look at it. No one wants to talk about it. But I think as a family and, taking that financial responsibility to, make sure that your kids or grandkids understand what they're signing up for now is very important. But, like I mentioned before, starting early, starting small, one kind of pushback we get sometimes, like, what if the markets drop? What if I lose money in the account? Well, it's like, hey, you still have more money in the account than if you didn't save at all. And so in that case, it's still worth doing.
Yeah, I would say it's absolutely worth doing. As somebody who's got a kid in college right now, it is worth doing. Yeah. There's something refreshing about pulling that money out of that 529 as opposed to there being a loan
it's taken
on
care
it.
Of.
Oh my gosh, it's great. Bret, thank you so much. What a great topic of conversation.
Yeah.
Appreciate you coming on and talk about it, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for having me, AC. Appreciate it.
Of course.